Loshitsky Park is one of the most beautiful and mystical parks in Minsk. This park is the best place for leisurely walks and family outdoor recreation in Minsk. Loshitsky Park is located in the south of the city and occupies an area of more than 100 hectares. The modern park is divided into two parts: the historical part, around the Manor house, and the orchard, which was planted during the Soviet Union. The park itself and the central Linden Avenue were laid out in the second half of the 18th century by Count Stanislaw Przynski. The full name of the park is Loshitsky Estate Park Complex. In April 2002, it was decided to restore and develop the complex. And in the fall of 2011, the complex was opened after the reconstruction. On the territory of the park, there are an old manor house, Kaplitsa, outhouse, mill, Watchman's house, and many beautiful shady alleys. On the territory of the Loshitsky Park, everyone will find a place for rest. Someone will leisurely admire the blossoming apple trees. Someone will ride a bicycle on the bicycle path that runs through the park. On the territory of the Loshitsky Park, there is an old manor complex, around which the park itself was once formed. Nowadays, there is a museum in the manor. For the first time, Loshitsa Manor was mentioned in 1557. Many people compare Loshitsa with Nesvizh, but if we associate the Nesvizh castle with the Radziwill princes, it is impossible to connect the Loshitsa estate with one name. Until the 21st century, the estate was owned by 15 owners. The development of the estate reached its peak under Eustafius Lubansky, who was the owner of the estate from 1884 to 1913. In 1724, a brick part was added to the one-story wooden part. The Count's house is being reconstructed in the Northern European style of National Romanticism, mixed with Swiss chalet style. An outbuilding, gatekeeper's cottage, and entrance pylons, a complex of factories on the other side of the river, and a mill were also built. In 1925, the Belarusian branch of the All-Union Institute of Plant Industry was established in the estate. A large garden was laid out, and many exotic plants were planted. At the end of 1930, the NKVD placed here a school of saboteurs. During the wartime, the estate was not damaged, as it was one of the residences of Wilhelm Kube. After the end of the war, the owners of the manor changed frequently again. At first, it was a sanatorium for partisans, then the local library, and in 1946 to 1947, a humanitarian mission of UNRWA from the USA. Later, the 93 hectares of the Loshitsky Park were given to the farmland of the state farm, Loshitsa. In 1988, the Loshitsky Park was declared a monument of history, culture, and architecture. The halls of the manor recreate the atmosphere of the secular life of the late 19th, early 20th centuries. One can see restored interiors of the 19th century, tile stoves and stucco decor, antique furniture, and art objects of the corresponding epoch. The Outbuilding is an integral part of the Loshitsky Estate Park Complex, an architectural monument of the second half of the 19th centuries. The wooden building of the Outbuilding with a tower stands on an old stone foundation. The construction dates back to 1895. It fulfilled a variety of functions to meet the needs of the estate owners. One of the main rooms of the Outbuilding was the kitchen. It also housed the office of the housekeeper, where he received workers and checked documentation. The servants lived and worked in this building. The workers wove baskets, weaved, made, and repaired various household utensils. There were pantries in the Outbuilding for storing supplies. At the exit from the manor gate, next to the brick entrance pylons, there is a watchman's house. It appeared in the park at the end of the 19th century. The small one-story brick building fits neatly into the general composition of the Manor architectural ensemble. In Soviet times, it was inhabited by workers of the state farm. Now there is a cafe in this house. To the left of the Watchman's house, there are half-destroyed walls of the old chapel. Kaplitsa is the oldest building in the park, which was built under the Przynskis. They were masters here from the beginning of the Desiyut to the second half of the 19th century. There were many Catholics in the neighborhood, and the nearest church was quite far away. That's why in 1780s, the chapel was built in the Vilna Baroque style. The building was used both as a church and as a family tomb. In the cellars were buried all the Przynskis, the priests who served in the chapel and prominent local residents. All of them are still buried there. In 1935, on the wave of the fight against religion, explosives were loaded into the chapel, but they did not take into account the power of the Vilna Baroque and the cavity resonator in the walls, which reduced the blast wave. Only the roof collapsed. In the 1940s, the chapel was used as an ammunition storehouse, which completed what had been started. When the troops retreated, they were blown up. 3 of the original 8 walls remain, but you can still appreciate the size of the drop, the thickness of the walls, and even see the very cavity resonator, special cavities in the walls that improved acoustics. Now imagine that there were frescoes on the walls and organ music was playing inside. The effect was amazing. Loshitsky Park in Minsk is stunningly landscaped. A lot of beautiful shady alleys, perfectly designed walkways, flower beds, arbors, exotic plants, small architectural forms such as bridges, benches, stylized lampposts, huge boulders. All this decorates Loshitsky Park and pleases its visitors. One should not forget about the beauty of nature. There are green meadows, dense thickets of trees, including fruit trees, picturesque hills, passing into steep riverbanks, and the river Svisloch, which is winding in this place, and lowlands with swamps overgrown with reeds. And finally, a small lake with an island and pavilions on the shore. And all this inside the big city. One of the most unusual solutions was realized in the Loshitsky Park, which delights with its simplicity and genius. Stones and boulders were placed along the perimeter of ancient settlements that were here many centuries ago. This is a simple and cheap move to memorialize the settlements that used to be here. Many century-old oaks and linden trees decorate the park. It is pleasant to walk in the shade of their branches in the hot summer. However, not all the trees survived the hurricanes of the past years. Every year, the Garden of Loshitsa bears fruit, and any local knows that apples, pears, and even cherry plums are really delicious here. And you can pick them in any quantity without asking. Everything you take away is yours. Pensioners, children, and even cadets from the neighboring military unit take advantage of this. This is a real community garden where everything is plentiful and everything is free. Nowadays, the Loshitsky Estate Park complex in Minsk is experiencing its second heyday. As mentioned above, the park is in excellent condition, and the central manor house, the side wing, and the Watchman's house have been beautifully restored. The park often hosts musical and theatrical events, and the stunning scenery has been the setting for many movies and music videos. This unique park is worth seeing once to fall in love with it forever and return to it many times.
If you liked this video, please like it and also subscribe to my channel. There's a lot of interesting stuff here.